A tense family dinner, ostensibly convened to celebrate the milestone 60th birthday of esteemed businessman Arthur Vance, reportedly spiraled into a public spectacle when his second wife, the formidable Victoria Sterling, physically assaulted his daughter, Eliza Vance. The incident occurred at a high-profile restaurant in the city's exclusive Pearl District. Sources confirm that Eliza Vance, now 34 but 29 at the time of the shocking event, is a successful figure in Metropolis City's demanding finance sector. Insiders reveal she deliberately maintained considerable distance from her paternal family unit, with reports indicating over a year had passed since her last visit to the family estate prior to the ill-fated celebration. The relationship between Eliza and her father, Arthur, has long been described by observers as strained, characterized by superficial pleasantries barely concealing deep-seated awkwardness. Communication was reportedly confined to perfunctory holiday greetings and the occasional perfunctory text message. Many trace this familial rift back to events following the tragic death of Eliza's mother from ovarian cancer when Eliza was a vulnerable 16 years old. The illness was protracted and grueling. Controversially, within that same year, Arthur Vance introduced Victoria Sterling, then a professional acquaintance, and now a prominent interior design consultant, into the family home as his new companion. Sterling, known throughout society circles for her flawless attire and strategic acumen, quickly implemented sweeping changes within the Vance household. What began as subtle adjustments, reorganizing the kitchen, commissioning new paint schemes, rearranging valuable antiques, allegedly escalated into directing major life decisions for young Eliza, including her choice of university, academic focus, and even dictating standards for her personal presentation as a young woman. Close confidants state that Eliza initially attempted to establish a civil relationship with Sterling. However, these efforts were apparently met with disdain. Sterling frequently characterized Eliza to Arthur as difficult, prone to moods, and disrespectful, often adding that Eliza had been excessively indulged by her late mother. When Eliza defended herself, Sterling reportedly insisted to Arthur that the teenager required psychological intervention, claiming Eliza's method of grieving was abnormal. Critically, Arthur Vance consistently failed to support or defend his daughter during these exchanges. This lack of paternal backing ultimately led Eliza to secure a significant academic scholarship at a state university located a considerable distance, a documented 6-hour journey, from the family residence. She relocated to dormitory housing, effectively limiting further contact. For the subsequent years, Eliza immersed herself in her education and career, constructing an independent existence, while consciously avoiding deep reflection on her past. The decision to attend her father's 60th birthday dinner was presented as a reluctant gesture toward temporary family unity. The chosen venue was a notoriously trendy establishment in the Pearl District, celebrated for its craft cocktails and distinctive decor featuring walls cultivated with decorative moss. The Vance party commanded a large section of a private dining area, though the atmosphere was reportedly charged with unconcealed discomfort. Eliza found herself seated towards one end of the long table, positioned next to Olivia Sterling, Victoria's daughter from a previous marriage, who is approximately 5 years Eliza's junior. Historical accounts suggest a complex dynamic between the stepsisters, marked by rivalry, possibly exacerbated by perceptions of unequal treatment within the blended family structure. Olivia was often perceived as the favored daughter, while Eliza was cast in the role of the non-compliant stepchild. Yet on this particular evening, witnesses observed that Olivia appeared fatigued and offered Eliza a glance that could be construed as conveying sympathy. The public altercation transpired approximately halfway through the dinner service. Eliza rose to use the restroom facilities. Upon her return, while navigating past a staff member carrying a service tray, she made incidental contact with the back of Victoria Sterling's chair. Eyewitness accounts stress the contact was minimal, certainly not forceful enough to jostle Sterling or her beverage. Despite the minor nature of the interaction, Victoria Sterling turned with deliberation, fixed her gaze upon Eliza, and administered a sharp, audible slap across her face. The sudden violence stunned the dining room into absolute silence. Several guests seated nearby then overheard Sterling lean in and hiss the pointed words, "You're just like your mother." All attention immediately shifted to Arthur Vance. He, however, became intensely focused on his side dish of mashed potatoes, offering absolutely no verbal or physical response to the assault on his daughter that had just occurred before his family and numerous other patrons. After a pregnant pause in which her father's silence was deafening, Eliza Vance quietly stood, turned, and exited the restaurant without further comment. Reports indicate Eliza drove back to her rented apartment in the city center, exhibiting no outward signs of distress such as tears or shouting. Upon arrival, she remained seated on her bed, still wearing her coat, staring blankly at the floor amidst the ambient city noise. Insiders describe this moment not as a dramatic collapse but as a quiet, definitive internal fracture, the final surrender of a long-held tolerance for the existing family dynamic. Subsequently, Eliza retrieved her personal laptop. An initial attempt to privately process the events through writing reportedly transformed into a decision to publicly document her experiences. Recognizing the years of suppressed grievances and alleged manipulation, she composed a detailed narrative of the evening's events and the preceding years of tension. Using pseudonyms for all individuals involved to maintain anonymity, she recounted the slap, the dinner, the history of conflict, and her father's passivity. This account was then submitted to a widely read online forum dedicated to discussions of challenging family dynamics, identified pseudonymously as Chronicles of Control. Eliza purportedly anticipated only a modest response, perhaps a few messages affirming her perspective. Instead, the anonymous post ignited significant online interest almost immediately. It rapidly accumulated thousands of reader interactions and generated hundreds of comments, signaling that the detailed account of the Vance family's dysfunction had resonated profoundly with a large digital audience. Following the public altercation, the anonymous online recounting of the incident, attributed to Eliza Vance, generated substantial public interest. Commenters overwhelmingly validated the account, describing the years of endured silence as a necessary survival mechanism. This digital exposure prompted unexpected contact from Olivia Sterling, Victoria Sterling's own daughter. A brief encrypted message reportedly stated, "Eliza, I read your post. I know it's you, and I believe everything. Can we talk?" A clandestine meeting was arranged for the following morning at a discreet cafe near Metropolis City's famed Powell's Booksellers. Eyewitnesses noted Olivia Sterling arrived appearing markedly different from her usual polished presentation, foregoing cosmetics and dressed in casual attire, suggesting significant distress. Sources close to the situation reveal Olivia confirmed long-held suspicions about her mother's controlling nature, admitting she had overheard incriminating conversations and felt isolated herself. The public slap, Olivia reportedly stated, was a breaking point for her as well, revealing Victoria's true character unequivocally. "I didn't fully understand what she was doing to you," Olivia allegedly confessed, adding, "But that night, she showed everyone who she really is." The stepsisters then reportedly collaborated on a plan, framing it not as retaliation, but as an operation to bring documented facts to light. Anticipating Arthur Vance and Victoria Sterling's return from the disastrous birthday dinner, Eliza and Olivia positioned themselves within the Vance family residence. Upon Arthur and Victoria's arrival, they discovered Eliza seated calmly in the main living area. Positioned prominently on the coffee table before her was a substantial file folder. Olivia Sterling stood nearby, indicating a united front. Inside the folder lay a curated collection of evidence. Printed screenshots of revealing text messages attributed to Victoria Sterling. Archived photographs, recovered from secure digital storage, depicting past incidents, including one showing Victoria aggressively confronting Eliza in the family kitchen, her finger pointed accusingly. Poignant letters penned by Eliza's late mother, discovered in a hidden jewelry box post-funeral, detailing her final thoughts and anxieties regarding Victoria's growing influence, and records suggesting Arthur Vance's relationship with Victoria Sterling commenced prior to his first wife's passing. The entire documented history was meticulously laid out. The atmosphere within the residence became palpably tense. Arthur Vance reportedly paused in the doorway, keys still in hand, observing the scene. Victoria Sterling entered moments later, mid-conversation, apparently providing Arthur with a fabricated account of the dinner incident. Her demeanor shifted instantly upon seeing Eliza and Olivia together. A heavy silence descended, distinct from the stunned quiet of the restaurant. This silence felt charged, suffocating. "What is this?" Arthur Vance inquired, slowly placing his keys on a nearby surface. Victoria's expression reportedly hardened into a mask of composure even before Arthur reached the coffee table to inspect the folder. Observers noted that while Victoria appeared characteristically unflappable, a flicker of intense calculation, strategizing her defense, was visible beneath the surface. Olivia Sterling broke the silence first, her voice reportedly lacking its usual steadiness, but remaining firm. "You need to see what's in that folder, Dad," she urged. Arthur Vance looked between his daughter and stepdaughter before directing his attention to the documents. He slowly sat and picked up the first page, a printed copy of the anonymized online post detailing the restaurant incident and the preceding years of alleged mistreatment. As Arthur read, his complexion visibly paled. His grip tightened on the edges of the paper. Victoria Sterling, arms crossed, maintained a posture of defiant dismissal. "This is absurd," she declared sharply. "You're both being ridiculous. She's always been like this, dramatic, vindictive, obsessed with dragging me through the mud." Eliza Vance offered no verbal response. Instead, Olivia reached forward, deliberately turning the page for Arthur. The next item was a screenshot of a text message Victoria had allegedly sent Olivia 2 years prior, stating, "Your sister will always be a problem until your father finally sees her for what she is, an ungrateful version of her dying mother." Arthur reportedly read the message multiple times. A slight, involuntary flinch was observed from Victoria as she recognized the specific text presented. "That was taken out of context," she snapped defensively. "It was a joke. A bad one." Olivia's quiet retort, "Do I look like I'm laughing?" reportedly carried significant weight in the charged room. Arthur continued methodically through the folder's contents. He encountered letters from his late wife, documents Eliza had found years ago but never previously revealed. In one poignant passage, the first Mrs. Vance expressed specific concerns about Arthur's burgeoning closeness with Victoria, noting it felt too personal, and expressing fear for Eliza's future well-being should the dynamic continue. The late Mrs. Vance acknowledged Arthur might not recognize the situation while she was alive, but felt a palpable shift in his priorities. Her handwriting, her words, her warnings, now laid bare. Upon finishing his review, Arthur Vance closed the folder and remained silent for a protracted period. Seizing the silence as an opportunity, Victoria Sterling renewed her defense, gesturing towards Eliza. "She's poisoning you, Arthur," she insisted. "She's been holding on to these twisted versions of the past for years. You think it's coincidence she came back now of all times? For your birthday? And suddenly she has a folder full of lies? She's manipulating you." The confrontation hung heavy in the air, awaiting Arthur Vance's judgment. The tense standoff within the Vance family residence took another shocking turn when Victoria Sterling, facing irrefutable evidence presented by her stepdaughter Eliza Vance and her own daughter Olivia Sterling, attempted a calculated deflection. Sources inside the home report Victoria flatly denied striking Eliza, with Olivia immediately countering, "She didn't slap herself, Victoria." In a move widely interpreted as an attempt to regain control, Victoria Sterling reportedly rounded on her own daughter, Olivia. "You're just siding with her because you've always been jealous," Victoria accused. "You think I didn't notice how cold you've been lately?" Observers familiar with Sterling's methods recognized this sudden pivot from defense to offense, a strategy apparently employed previously to undermine Olivia's confidence and maintain familial allegiance. However, this time, the tactic failed. Olivia Sterling visibly stiffened, but held her ground. "That night," Olivia stated, referring to the restaurant incident, "was the first time I saw who you really are. The way you looked at her, the things you said. You slapped her in public and then acted like she deserved it." Olivia then turned her attention directly to her stepfather, Arthur Vance. "And you," she emphasized. "You just sat there like it was normal." Throughout this exchange, Arthur Vance remained silent, his expression described as distant, his jaw clenched. Finally, he rose from his seat. Avoiding eye contact with either Eliza or Olivia, he addressed Victoria directly. His voice, though soft, carried an unnerving calm. "You told me Eliza was exaggerating," he began. "That she was difficult. That she was trying to punish me for moving on." Victoria offered no reply. "She left because of you," Arthur Vance stated unequivocally. This direct accusation finally shattered Victoria Sterling's composure. "No!" she reportedly hissed, her voice laced with fury. "She left because she couldn't stand not being the center of your world anymore. She always hated me, from day one. You think I didn't feel it?" When Arthur quietly interjected, "She was 16. Victoria's expression twisted, seemingly viewing Arthur himself as the betrayer. "I gave everything to this family," Victoria declared vehemently. "You think I put up with your daughter's attitude, your spineless silences, and your depressive sulking for fun? I carried this house while you buried yourself in guilt for years, and now you're going to believe her over me?" Arthur Vance remained silent, offering no response to her tirade. After a tense pause, Victoria Sterling retrieved her handbag. "This is pathetic," she announced with finality. "I'm done here." She then exited the residence, slamming the front door forcefully behind her, the sound echoing through the suddenly hollow space. The silence that followed Victoria's dramatic departure was described as heavy and unnerving, punctuated only by the ambient sounds of the large house, the hum of appliances, the ticking of a clock. Arthur Vance sank back onto the couch, appearing visibly diminished, the weight of recent events seemingly aging him rapidly. Turning to Olivia, his voice quiet, he admitted, "I didn't know she texted that to you." Olivia reportedly replied, "She said worse, Arthur. I didn't keep all of it." Arthur Vance then addressed Eliza directly. His eyes showed signs of strain, though no tears were present, only profound weariness. "You kept this all to yourself," he observed. "For how long?" Eliza simply shrugged, stating, "I stopped counting." Arthur exhaled deeply, the sound conveying a dawning, devastating realization about the foundations of his marriage. While the impulse for recrimination might have been present, Eliza reportedly refrained from accusation, allowing Arthur to confront the reality of his long-standing complicity through silence. Significantly, Olivia Sterling chose to remain in the residence after her mother's departure. Instead of retreating to the life previously dictated by Victoria, she settled into an armchair opposite Arthur, a gesture suggesting a potential shift in alliances. The three individuals, Arthur, Eliza, and Olivia, remained in the room, the pretense of their former family dynamic now shattered. After a prolonged silence, Arthur Vance spoke again, looking down at his hands. "I don't know how to undo any of this," he confessed. Eliza's response was pragmatic. You don't. That's not really how it works. Arthur nodded slowly in acknowledgement. Limited further conversation took place that evening. Eliza and Olivia departed together shortly thereafter, leaving Arthur alone in the house. A decision observers speculate might represent his first autonomous action, free from Victoria's influence in a significant period. The walk back to Olivia's vehicle occurred in contemplative silence. In the immediate aftermath of Victoria Sterling's dramatic exit from the Vance family residence, a new, albeit fragile, dynamic emerged between Arthur Vance, his daughter Eliza Vance, and his stepdaughter Olivia Sterling. Reports indicate that during the silent drive following the confrontation, Olivia offered Eliza an unexpected validation. "I always thought you were the strong one," Olivia reportedly admitted as they arrived at her vehicle. "You left. You got out. I thought you were angry and selfish, but you were just saving yourself." This acknowledgement marked a significant shift from their previously strained relationship, surprising Eliza, who had long been labeled the difficult one within the family structure. Eliza subsequently stayed at Olivia's modest apartment in the city's Buckman district for a period. This arrangement provided an environment starkly different from the opulent but tense Vance estate. Sources describe Olivia's apartment as cozy and personalized, adorned with framed quotes and vintage postcards, creating a sense of genuine warmth. During this time, the stepsisters reportedly engaged in late-night conversations, delving into their shared past under Victoria's influence. They discussed the differing experiences they endured, even while living under the same roof, and recognized how Victoria had allegedly manipulated them against each other. "She always made me feel like I was the reason things weren't working," Olivia confided. A sentiment Eliza acknowledged applied broadly within the family, particularly to their father. Speculation arose regarding Arthur's awareness of the situation, with Eliza suggesting he likely chose willful ignorance to avoid confronting his own complicity and the pain inflicted upon Eliza, Olivia, and his late first wife. In a moment of newfound solidarity, Olivia reportedly offered Eliza a comforting gesture, signifying their transition from rivals to shared survivors. The days following the confrontation were characterized by a quiet, yet emotionally complex atmosphere. Eliza postponed her return to Metropolis City, opting to remain in the area and work remotely from Olivia's apartment. She maintained regular, albeit brief, contact with her father, Arthur Vance. Reports indicate Arthur was frequently found alone in the large family home, engaging in obsessive cleaning and organizing activities, sorting through bookshelves, scrubbing surfaces, and clearing out old storage boxes. Observers interpreted this behavior as an attempt to reclaim his own space and identity within the house, disentangling his possessions and memories from those associated with Victoria Sterling, who had reportedly taken temporary residence with a friend in the affluent Lake Oswego suburb. Olivia also visited her stepfather periodically. Notably, the specific events of the confrontation at the restaurant were reportedly never discussed among the three, suggesting an unspoken agreement to avoid disrupting the delicate new equilibrium. During one visit, Eliza found Arthur seated at the kitchen table, examining an old photo album containing physical prints from a past era. He slowly turned the pages, pausing at photographs from a family trip to Cannon Beach, taken when Eliza was approximately 9 years old. "This was your mom's," Arthur stated quietly, noting she had curated the album and added handwritten captions beneath the photos, details like Eliza's first tide pool, best grilled cheese in Oregon, and Arthur's terrible sunburn. He lingered on one caption that simply read, "So much laughter today. I hope it sticks." The unspoken implication hung heavy in the air. The laughter had faded, replaced by years of silence and avoidance. In a moment of rare vulnerability, Arthur confessed, "I think I forgot who I was after she died. I was scared, lonely, and Victoria. She filled the space so fast I didn't question it." Eliza acknowledged his statement but firmly added, "But that's not an excuse." Arthur conceded, "No, it's not. followed by a quiet, "I'm sorry." While insufficient to repair years of damage, this apology represented a potential starting point for reconciliation. Direct communication from Victoria Sterling remained absent during this period. However, lingering apprehension existed that she was strategically planning her next move and potentially constructing an alternative narrative of events for external consumption. The sense that the conflict was unresolved proved accurate. Approximately 1 week after the initial confrontation, as a semblance of normalcy began to return, formal correspondence arrived from Victoria Sterling's legal counsel. Confirming suspicions that she was far from finished, the letter announced Victoria had filed for legal separation. Simultaneously, she formally demanded substantial spousal support and asserted her claim to full ownership of the Vance family residence, the very house originally selected and significantly financed by Arthur's late first wife through her own inheritance. The battle lines were officially drawn, shifting the family drama into the legal arena. Following her unceremonious exit, the notorious Victoria Sterling wasted no time plotting her financial retribution. Legal documents obtained exclusively reveal Sterling initiated proceedings for legal separation from esteemed businessman Arthur Vance, accompanied by a truly audacious list of demands. Sources confirm Sterling sought substantial spousal support, claiming her 15 years within the marriage constituted significant emotional labor, warranting massive compensation. Furthermore, she demanded full ownership of the valuable Vance family estate. A property sources confirm was originally selected and largely paid for by Arthur's late first wife, using a substantial family inheritance. In a move that stunned observers for its sheer nerve, Sterling also included a request for specific personal items from the home. Most notably, she laid claim to a valuable collection of antique porcelain teacups, identified as cherished heirlooms passed down from the first Mrs. Vance's grandmother. Sterling audaciously alleged in legal filings that the late Mrs. Vance had gifted these priceless items to her before her death, a claim immediately identified by insiders as a blatant fabrication. She's attempting to manipulate the legal system itself, one source close to Eliza Vance commented upon reviewing the paperwork. Arthur Vance, reportedly appearing like a man emerging from a long stupor, was said to be visibly shaken but resolute. Seeking formidable legal representation, Arthur and Eliza Vance retained the services of Samira Khan, a top metropolis city attorney renowned for her expertise in high-conflict divorces and her notoriously uncompromising approach. During the initial consultation, upon reviewing the extensive evidence compiled by Eliza and Olivia Sterling, including damning text messages, photographic proof, the late Mrs. Vance's letters, and the widely circulated anonymous online post detailing the restaurant assault, Khan reportedly declared with chilling confidence, "This isn't going to go the way she thinks." Khan's investigation swiftly uncovered critical facts overlooked by Sterling. Firstly, legal records confirmed Victoria Sterling had never been added to the deed of the family residence. Despite her apparent assumption of entitlement based on the marriage duration, the property was purchased by Arthur Vance prior to their union, and no legal steps were ever taken to transfer ownership interest to Sterling. The house remained solely Arthur's property, potentially subject to claims related to his first wife's estate. Secondly, the matter of the antique teacups was decisively settled by documentation discovered by Eliza Vance. An itemized list of valuables, prepared by the late Mrs. Vance before her passing, explicitly bequeathed the teacup collection to her daughter, Eliza, referred to by her childhood name Nora in the document, upon reaching the age of 30. Eliza Vance was 34 at the time of the dispute. The stage was set for a dramatic mediation session. Victoria Sterling arrived projecting an air of unwavering confidence, dressed impeccably. Her legal counsel, a junior associate appearing visibly uncomfortable, began shuffling notes as Samira Khan systematically presented her case. Kahn methodically unveiled the devastating evidence. Confirmation of Arthur's sole property ownership, the explicit terms of the late Mrs. Vance's will regarding the heirlooms, authenticated copies of Sterling's manipulative text messages, and the full text of the online post detailing the assault, now accompanied by a formal statement from a consulted family therapist confirming the incident caused significant emotional distress and reactivated trauma for Eliza Vance. Witnesses described the transformation in Victoria Sterling's demeanor as dramatic. Her confident facade crumbled visibly as the weight of the evidence became undeniable. She attempted to speak, only to be silenced by a cautionary gesture from her own lawyer. Samira Khan then delivered the final blow. "We are prepared to resolve this matter discreetly," Khan stated calmly, "provided Ms. Sterling walks away with absolutely nothing. No claim to the house, none of the items listed in the will, and zero spousal support." The alternative presented was stark. Should she decline, we are fully prepared to file counterclaims for emotional distress, wrongful interference with estate assets, and intentional infliction of severe emotional distress. Furthermore, Khan added pointedly, "We will ensure these text messages and the details of her conduct are shared with relevant family members and mutual acquaintances. The choice is hers." Cornered and publicly exposed, Victoria Sterling sat frozen, her hands reportedly clenched tightly in her lap. After a tense silence during which Arthur Vance refused to meet her gaze, she gave a single, curt nod. Her eyes, sources say, burned with impotent fury. The battle was over. Sterling left with nothing. The ensuing months marked a period of quiet rebuilding for the Vance family. Arthur Vance voluntarily began attending therapy sessions and initiated regular, meaningful contact with Eliza, often sharing previously unspoken memories of his late wife. Eliza and Olivia Sterling forged a genuine bond, sharing experiences and supporting each other in ways impossible during their childhood. They retrieved the disputed antique teacups from storage, their delicate beauty serving as a tangible link to their family history, each piece bearing the initials of Eliza's mother, Victoria Sterling, stripped of her influence and financial claims, reportedly faded into relative obscurity, relocating to a modest condominium. Attempts to rehabilitate her image among former social contacts were largely unsuccessful, as the documented truth of her actions had become too widely known. The silence surrounding her was no longer one she commanded, but one of isolation. In a final act solidifying the shift in family dynamics, Arthur Vance legally transferred 50% ownership of the family home to Eliza Vance. "It's what your mother would have wanted," he reportedly stated. "It's what I should have done years ago." The resolution wasn't marked by overt celebration, but by the quiet satisfaction of truth prevailing. The intricate web of deceit spun by Victoria Sterling over years had been dismantled, not through vengeful acts, but through the steadfast presentation of facts. For Eliza Vance, the ultimate victory was living authentically in the home her mother cherished, her name secured on the deed, her stepsister welcomed as family, and her rightful inheritance finally in her hands, irrefutable proof that Victoria Sterling's reign of manipulation was definitively over.